Motherfucking mini episode. Mini episode. Motherfucking mini episode.
Yep, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another phenomenal episode of My Mama Told Me, the podcast where we dive deep into the pockets of black conspiracy theories, and we finally work to prove the theories that you, the listeners, have at home. It is time to hear your thoughts, the things that you send to me. I don't know what that song is, but it's a goddamn classic. If I'm being honest, I might have wrote the new Dua Lipa song. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the star in this situation. I just want to send that to Dua Lipa and let her Dua Lipa her thing with it. You know what I mean? Do you, Dua Lipa? That's what I always say. Anyway, I'm here to talk about actual funny shit and interesting shit that you all send me. And boy, oh boy, do I have a good one today. This message, theory, let's call it a theory, based on the premise of this podcast. We'll call it a conspiracy theory, perhaps. This conspiracy theory comes to me from a gentleman named Demetrius. He preferred to be called Demetrius. And Demetrius sent me a message. He did not record it. Apparently, he similarly has a bit of a speech impediment and is a little shy about me hearing that sweet snagglepuss. You know what I mean? That sweet parcel mouth. He didn't want me to hear it, but he said, my mama told me that Pokemon is the devil. That's what Demetrius said. And he goes on to say a bunch of stuff. He said, backstory on this. I, much like other children, collected Pokemon shit back when it hit the scene in the US in 1996. I was in grade school at the time. If you didn't fuck with Pokemon, you were the weird kid. Or maybe I was just a geeky motherfucker and I didn't realize it at the time. Either way, for years, I was racking up cards and merch, playing the Nintendo games, watching the show, the whole nine. I was a black Ash Ketchum and you couldn't tell me shit. Then, out of nowhere, some minister, I don't remember who it was, got up on national television and went full on fire and brimstone about Pokemon from the pulpit. My mom gets a hold of this and then has me bag up all my Pokemon and throw it away. Her answer was, we ain't letting the devil up in our house. That sounds like a Kanye lyric, and I appreciate that. My question to you, Langston, what could compel a man, a grown-ass clergyman who has devoted his life to preaching the gospel to the hearts of mankind, to come after some imaginary Japanese characters from a game that if you played beyond the age of 16, people would look at you funny? But their immediate reaction isn't to reach for the holy water, maybe the pepper spray, but not the crucifix. What kind of mysterious demons is that yellow bitch Pika-choose hiding in them Pokeballs? What kind of root is that fat bitch Jigglypuff trying to put on God's children? Help me out, Langston. And then he apologizes for making fun of my speech impediment, which I didn't even read that part of the email, but it's important that you know I'm being as transparent with you all as I possibly can at all times. That said, Demetrius, I would love to dig into this conspiracy theory, as I was a bit of a Pokemon fanatic myself. Now, I was collecting basketball cards as a kid. I was much more of a basketball cards kid, but I did love playing Pokemon the game. I enjoyed all Pokemon television programming. I was a big Pokemon head. I used to rap those songs like nobody's business. Boy, I knew all 150 Pokemon at one point, and now I could name about 12 of them before I get bored and tired and feel like maybe this was all just a big stupid ploy by some weird men who wanted to draw pictures of animals and animals with human legs. You know what I mean? That's pretty much the whole theory. The whole thing with Pokemon is like, what if we drew a rhinoceros, but it had people legs? Well, that'd be pretty cool, huh? And then they drew it, and then they were like, yeah, that's Rhino Dog. And you're like, I guess I gotta collect that motherfucker. He's pretty tight. But as foolish, let's get back to the conspiracy theory. As foolish as this conspiracy theory sounds, it does remind me of exactly how powerful Pokemon mania was during the late 90s. I mean, Pokemon cards at one point were the most valuable thing in the world. They were more valuable than pussy and PT Cruisers. I would have killed my neighbor's dog to get my hands on a hologram Dragonite. Do you know what I mean? I would have done anything to just get a taste of some of that sweet Pokemon magic. That said, I did do some research and I tracked down the video in reference, the exact video that you're referring to here, Demetrius, and I'm going to play a little bit of it now because I think it's important. It's going to help lay some context for exactly why this preacher is so upset.
It's important for the church to deal with issues as they come to the forefront in society. I said, son, what is that one morning? He said, that's Pokemon. Son, I found out that
that's Pokemon
means pocket monster. Pokemon, plural, are incredible creatures that share the world with humans. Each has its own fighting abilities. Some grow and evolve into even more powerful creatures. The children are developing relationships with all these Pokemon creatures, little reclusive, power-filled monsters. But why should they carry these monsters in their pocket? They say the Pokemon whole effort is to train children how to become the #1 Pokemon master in the world. You follow it through the New Age teaching, you find out that masters are those who take control of spirits in the dark realm, and they tell those spirits what to do. The child at some point becomes capable of taking these powers and channeling them through their mind, through their arms, or through their power sources.
Oh, sweet God.
Power sources, of course, are many of the symbols that they pick up from the Pokemon paraphernalia. So Pokemon is a game that teaches children how to enter into the world of witchcraft, how to cast spells, how to use psychic phenomena, how to put to work supernatural powers against their enemies.
There it is.
How to fantasy role play. Pokemon world is a world of the demonic, of the satanic. But while you might not take it quite seriously, I assure you that demons take it quite seriously. Satan takes it quite seriously. Your children need to know there's a devil, and he hates them, and he wants to ruin their life.
There we go. There we go. I think we learned a lot. There's a devil. He wants to ruin your life, and there's no better way to ruin your life than through Jigglypuff. That fat bitch with his microphone singing a siren song, a Satanal hymn in your ears. That's how the devil's going to get you, children, and Pokemon is helping to do it. Now, the video in reference comes from this, as you can plainly hear, this white mega pastor whose name I didn't care to even look up, preaching about the dangers of allowing Pokemon into your children's lives. Basically, his biggest hangup is that the child controlling the powers of the monsters in their pockets, it allows them to connect with the devil being connected to the monsters, that he's equating the Pokemon and their casting of spells or wielding a power to the same work that Satan does. Now, although this language from this guy is particularly crazy, it's not completely isolated. He wasn't one of one at this point. In fact, in 1999, there was an article from the Associated Press. That's right, the AP. I think a pretty respected source nowadays, or certainly has been for many years, but the Associated Press had an article that they wrote titled "Pokemon Stirs Up Crime." And in that article, they recount incidents of fights, of robberies, and even stabbings related to Pokemon cards, specifically amongst school children. The article even included safety tips. They talked about kids being stabbed in bathrooms and hit with trash cans, all while they fight over Pokemon cards, rare Pokemon cards, sometimes not rare Pokemon cards. Some kid got fucking shanked for a 75-cent basic bitch pack of cards. The point is, the article even included safety tips for how parents can handle their children's safety in relation to their card collections, basically telling a bunch of parents not to let their kids leave the house with the Pokemon cards, not to invite friends over and leave them alone in a room where the Pokemon cards are being kept, not to allow kids to buy more than a certain amount of Pokemon cards at a time, all with the possibility that these cards might introduce violence and danger into their lives. Sound pretty demonic to me. Sounds pretty of the devil, if you ask me. Now, this is interesting. Similarly, in 1999, Burger King, the king of burgers, which also sounds like it might have some connections to the devil, but we'll get into that on another day. But the Burger King, I don't know if anybody's referred to it as the Burger King. I think it's just regular ass Burger King. Anyway, Burger King had to recall a bunch of Pokemon accessories after a small child suffocated to death after putting one of their Pokeballs, one of the Pokeball toys that they were giving away with their meals, on its face. Basically, the baby put the Pokeball, half a Pokeball on its face, and then it died. And then Burger King had to be like, hey, y'all don't get Pokeballs no more because this baby couldn't handle it. So now nobody gets Pokeballs. Now, what feels like is being missed in a lot of these articles and reports is how many of these situations could have been controlled by the adults in these children's lives. Now, I don't want to blame any parents of a dead child. That's not something I'm into. You know what I mean? I ain't doing that. That's not my place. If a baby dies, I'm not going to be like, you should have did more. And I'm not going to do that. But unless the Pokeball is attaching to the child's face, like one of those flying pussies in the Alien movie, you should probably be able to stop them from smothering themselves. I don't know if it's your fault, but you could have done something. Similarly, quite a bit of the mania around the Poke paraphernalia was driven by grown men and women who were spending insane amounts of money over and over again trying to collect these items, just insane amounts of money to create sexless rooms in their sheds with pictures of cartoon children holding electric rats. It was a wild time, 1999. The millennium really sobered us up quite a bit. Long story short, it just feels weird to call something demonic before we point to consumerism as a more likely cause for concern relating to Pokemon. I don't know if this is as much the devil as money and the want for expensive, rare things is the devil, and Pokemon just happens to be a symptom of that demonic work. But what do I know? I'm just a motherfucker who talks alone in his baby's nursery. My kid isn't here yet, so I get to keep recording my podcast next to a bunch of unpacked boxes and a pretty well-built crib. I'll say that. We put the crib together and we built the shit out of it. And I hope it's a crib that stays sturdy and strong and never is a place where my baby suffocates herself with a Pokeball. That's my main wish. Anyway, this talk of Pokemon being demonic did, however, remind me of a very popular rumor from when I was growing up. I don't know if you guys had a bunch of Pokemon rumors, but one of the more popular Pokemon rumors that I remember when I was growing up was this rumor that the Japanese version of Pokemon was substantially more graphic than its American counterpart. That, like, when you watch the anime, the real anime from Japan, that motherfucker is just filled with violence and blood and gore, and occasionally you could see Nurse Jenny's titties. It was supposedly like insanely graphic, and as it turns out, that was partially true. I did some research, and there was definitely some blood and more indication of the Pokemon actually being hurt. There were Pokemon that were decapitated, cut in half and shit at times, but it wasn't as extreme as we had been led to believe. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't when they cut them in half, they weren't like intestines weren't like flowing out into the grass. It was more of just like, Oh, there are actually real repercussions for some of these pokey battles. That said, I don't think you ever could see any of Nurse Jenny's meat on Maine. You know what I mean? She wasn't showing no meat on Maine. Oh, Nurse Jenny. And that's a shame. That really is a shame because we could have all used a little Nurse Jenny titty. During Y2K, nothing would have comforted me more. You know what I mean? I was stressing. Me and my family, we were buying up cans of corn and beans at the possibility that the computers were shut down. And boy, would I have slept a little easier knowing that Nurse Jenny had some nudes out there. You know what I mean? So, still not a lot of evidence of it being demonic, as it is more an example of human beings being grossly obsessive to the point of hurting ourselves, which maybe is just the devil hiding in plain sight, I guess. Damn, that's pretty deep. I don't know. The last thing that it got me wondering about, and this is the last thing I'll say on this matter, is it made me curious, and this is something I think I've long wondered, and maybe we've all long wondered, is what happens inside of those Pokeballs. Do you know what I mean? For those of us unfamiliar with the way that Pokemon works, basically the Pokemon are allowed to roam freely under their master's will out in the world. Well, first they're free, then a master breaks their spirit and locks them in a Pokeball. And then at the point that they're fully turned into animal slaves, they are called from those Pokeballs to fight other Pokemon, and then they're called back into the balls, whether they win or lose the balls. There's no reward for winning that fight. They pretty much get treated like shit at all times. But it got me wondering what actually happens inside of the Pokeballs. For any X-Men fans, this is where my brain goes. You know that there are some suggestions that Cyclops does not actually shoot lasers from his eyeballs, but instead his eyes are a portal to a dimension exploding with energy. So when he opens his eyes, he is merely connecting us to this much more sinister, hellish dimension. And that is what's shooting out of his eyeballs. It is not lasers. It's like fucking hellfire and brimstone that's firing from his fucking face. Is it possible? That all said, is it possible that the Pokeballs are simply a portal to an evil, demonic dimension where the animals are trained to introduce devil shit to our most innocent selves? Whoa. Whoa. Is it possible that that's what's happening? Or alternatively, is that preacher dude just mad at Pokemon because he's in a loveless marriage and his penis is weird? It's hard to know. Perhaps we'll never know. But I think that pretty much covers all of the questions that were put in front of me. I hope this makes you feel, I guess, more confident, Demetrius. Maybe you'll go take down your mother. Maybe you'll finally be able to challenge her and be like, Mom, give me my fucking Pokemon cards back. I'm 46 years old and I want my goddamn Pokemon cards. I don't know why you would be 46 in this story. That really implies that you were way too old to be dealing in Pokemon cards at the time that you were dealing with them. But that's what I picked. You're 46, Demetrius, and I'm not going to change my mind. You could write me letters. You could try to show me your ID. You could send me a copy of your birth certificate. You 46, bitch, and I know there's nothing you can do about it. That said, I really appreciate you writing to me, and I appreciate all you stupid whores for writing to me. Nothing makes me happier than to read your messages. If you want to send me messages about demonic anime and bullshit that your mother probably says in relation to those demonic animes, please send those messages to mymommapod@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. Doo-dah. Nothing would make me happier than to be able to talk about whatever the fuck is on your mind. I've been getting some really fun ones lately, and I'm going to unpack a bunch of them. Some of them I'm going to ignore because they make me uncomfortable, but others I'm definitely going to dig into. And if you can send me one that doesn't make me uncomfortable, well then, goddamn it, we've got a deal. Shake on it, because we've got a goddamn deal. You've got yourself a deal. Anyway, You can follow me at Langston Kerman, and please remember to like and subscribe and do all the things. Write a review, say nice things or horrible things. There have been a few people who have been disappointed with some of my opinions, quote unquote opinions as of late. And to that I say, hey, I don't know. I just be talking. And sometimes talking ain't fun for everybody, but it's always fun for me. Anyway, bye, bitch.
Motherfucking mini episode. Mini episode. Motherfucking mini episode. Motherfucking mini episode. Mini episode. Motherfucking mini episode.